look, spoilers, some people died. I traded the spiders for the katanas. I do like Diana, I think. We would have been friends. Australia joined in because Australia's always just like down to clown. England's long. There's a lot of shocking events. Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, I am Yvette. I moved to the UK over 2 years ago and I am documenting my experiences. And so today I thought it'd be an interesting video. I don't want to say fun because some of these are a bit morbid. I thought it would be good to do a video around the top 10 most shocking events in British history. And I'm just wanted to say that I'm doing like modern history, so like after World War II, because England's long. There's a lot of shocking events back there. So most of these are modern. I didn't know about some of these. Some of these, like, I couldn't do a list without putting them on, but I think it's interesting nonetheless. And so I thought it'd be interesting to see, particularly if you guys were around when these were on, because some of these were more recent. I was shocked I didn't know about them. We'll jump into it. I don't want to be too cheery because look, spoilers, some people died. But yeah. Shocking moments in modern British history. Let's jump into it. We'll start easy and non-controversial. Number one is Brexit. No, I'm joking. It was controversial and it was shocking, so I do want to put it in. Do not come in the comments about Brexit. I might even block the word. I don't want to hear it. All you need to know is that it was crazy at the time to see England leaving what was considered one of the biggest powerhouses. I know there's obviously more to it, but that was from an external person's perspective. Wow. I'm going to try and attempt to do a football analogy, and it's going to go horrifically wrong, and that might be more outrage than the Brexit stuff. It'd be like taking your star player off the number one football team. You know, say, I have no idea why did I do football. You know what I mean though, like, the football team's like winning and it wins every cup and it's like smashing. It's like Manchester Premier League football team thing, and they take off their main player and you're like, whoa. Whoa, now the whole team's gonna fail. Obviously the whole world hasn't fallen apart. We can all be the judge of, you know, what was and wasn't delivered, but yeah, it was shocking nonetheless. Let's not get into the specifics. I'm not gonna fight with you guys. It's done though. Amongst, you know, the shock of taking your star football player off the best football team, David Cameron quit, which, to be honest, regardless of your Brexit business, if you caused it, you should see it out through the end, but no, he quit. And then also the pound plummeted, and then racial violence increased. So it did have some negative flow-on effects initially. That was like just from when it got announced. So it was shocking around the world. So the next one's a bit darker, and I didn't know about this until I did this video. So this might be really common knowledge, so bear with, but it's the Dunblane Massacre. So in 1996, Thomas Hamilton, I think his name was, and he was 46. He walked into a school and with a firearm and shot up all these 5-year-olds. He ended up killing 16 children and a teacher. Because of him is why we don't really have gun violence in the UK anymore, because they passed legislation they banned cartridge ammo and handguns after this, which is good. I'm glad that, although a horrific massacre, and also children of all the things, but at least something came of it, because the same thing happened in Sandy Hook in America and those kids died for nothing. So at least something happened, you know, someone did something. But yeah, horrific, and that's been the biggest mass shooting in the UK in its history. And yeah, now that's why I think there's lots of I haven't looked into it because I don't own a gun, but I know farmers can own guns now, and I suspect this is why. So definitely one of the more shocking parts of modern history. Another one I didn't know, which makes me just sound so ignorant, but I'm really glad I did this video, and this is why I like doing these videos, because it makes me learn things that I probably should have learnt, but British people are so polite. They don't like to mention the negative things of the past, such as the Birmingham bombings. The Birmingham bombings. Can't talk today. Apologies, I'm not making a joke. So the Birmingham bombings originated from tensions with Northern Ireland during, you know, the Troubles. There was 3 bombs, 2 went off. They were both in pubs. One was called the Tavern, I think one was called the Bulbury Bush. It was 2 pubs, and then the third one was in a bank that didn't detonate. And they were timed and they went off 10 minutes apart. 21 people died and 182 people were injured. But what's crazy as well, like horrific, obviously. But then they arrested 3 people and sent them to prison, and then they found out that they were innocent later. And I think it was like 6 years later they got out because the courts were like, you're innocent. So false convictions, bombs, horrific. So I'm also going to Birmingham this weekend, so maybe I'll see some memorials. Very topical, this next one. The Grenfell Tower. Now, I came to the UK for a holiday this year. Or just before, it was just around the time I was coming here. So I remember this happening. So it was in June 2017, and there's been a lot of memorial stuff on social media lately about it. So a faulty fridge freezer set fire to an apartment. It got into the cladding and it just spread because the cladding kind of worked like kindling for the whole building. 71 people died. The government's still investigating. It's been 4 years. There's a lot. I think obviously it was not malicious. It was just like gross negligence. And I think they have to get rid of that cladding elsewhere. That's a real question. I think I read online, not in when I was doing my research, was just that the company who looked after the cladding basically lied about all the fire testing. So they faked all of the safety reports, but they only agreed to that after they agreed to immunity, so they can't do anything. So horrific, no one gets justice, but Grenfell, very shocking. I remember it went up in the middle of the night, and that was daytime in Australia, so I watched it happen like real time. I don't know why I decided to make this video, it's very negative. The next one, so if you know anything like me, I like true crime. I read a lot of true crime books, I know a lot about criminology, psychology, etc. So I do know about the next case, but I'll keep it very top line because it is horrific and probably one of the worst cases there ever was. It is the murder of Jamie Bolger. So essentially he's a 2-year-old boy. 2 10-year-olds abducted him from a shopping centre, took him to a remote place and tortured him so bad, and left his body. And then those 2 kids were 10 years old, so they were the biggest shock about that, apart from the poor child that was life was taken, was that it was perpetrated by other children, which my psychology part of my brain is like, children tend not to be evil, like that happens through life and events. So like, what could have happened to those poor 10-year-olds to make them do that? Do you know what I mean? Like, what was their life experience if that was in their heads, you know? Lots of damaged children all around, unfortunately. But yeah, they were the youngest ever convicted murderers in the UK. And they're still in the UK under different names. They have different identity. They went to like witness protection because it was such a infamous case and the public outcry, understandably and justifiably so, they had to, yeah. It's really interesting if you look it up. I won't get into it now because that'll be a whole other video, but one of them has gotten worse. Let's just say that. Next one was the invasion of Iraq. And so I was like 12 when this happened, I think. Yeah, about so. So it's kind of in my knowledge, but like I didn't have any like gauges for it. But Australia joined in because Australia's always just like down to clown for a war. But the UK, apparently people here have morals, and they fought against it and they protested against invading Iraq for Saddam Hussein. People say controversially, was it revenge for 9/11? Was it to get oil? Like what was the actual reasoning? And I think at the time people questioned the Prime Minister's motives, I guess, because it was just like copying America, like because America was going in, so everyone piled in. And the fact that one's still going on now is crazy. So, Operation Yewtree. Now this one's very infamously British. So basically a year after Jimmy Savile died, ITV were putting out a documentary, and they had allegations around, you know, pedophiles, child abuse, etc. with Jimmy Savile, and after that came out and aired, there was like 450 victims came forward making claims against him. But I guess obviously it was controversial because he was a massive figure within the UK during the 50s and 60s and I think 70s. But I think what really rocked the public was that it was covered up by the NHS because he volunteered at a lot of hospitals, and it was covered up by like BBC and the media, and people really didn't like that, understandably. And it's still being discussed and shocked at how much he could get away with over such a long time and why, and how to prevent that, I guess, in the future. So Jimmy Savile, I think it was very much an open secret by the sounds of things, which is not very nice. So couldn't do a list without this one. The death of Diana. So 1997, her car crashed in Paris with her and her boyfriend at the time, and they both died. Obviously there's a million conspiracy theories over, was it an accident? Was it the media? Was it the royal family? Was it the Queen? Was it Philip? Was it the Saudi Arabian government? Was it the Palestinians? Was it Israel because she was about to back Palestine? There are so many people that it's kind of like a whodunit where everyone has so much motive that you can't like get through any of the weeds. 2.5 million people watched her funeral live. It's like one of the most watched things on British television of all time. So huge part of history, and people were obviously devastated because she was the people's princess. I do like Diana. I think we would have been friends. Tell me in the comments below, let's not get into fights, but what do you think happened to Diana? Because I can tell you now, I don't think the Queen killed her. That's my number one, only thing I'm confident in, because the Queen is a cutie pie. Everyone else is on the cards though. I don't trust anyone else. But yeah, it could have been like Saudi Arabia, it could have been Israel, it could have been the royal family, could have been whoever, could have been anyone. So I'd be really interested to know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. So particularly people who lived through it, because I'm obviously like, in 1997 I was 5, so don't trust my opinion. The next one I didn't know about either. It was the Hillsborough disaster. So it was an FA Cup final, and I think everyone there was a car crash and they tried to escape, and it got crushed. Like the crowds just crushed everyone. And so there was 96 people, which is so many for like, I don't know, it's just, you think that's so much for crushing. Like, it's easy for one person to go unnoticed and get crushed, but 96? People falsely claimed it was like the Liverpool fans that came down to watch. Later on, an inquest came through and found out that it was not in fact Liverpool. It was, and so they're prosecuting the organisers for not having like adequate measures in place to prevent that from happening, which is probably the right thing to do and not blame the fans. So good that justice is being served. Hard thing is justice takes a long time. The last one is something quite recent. Once again, I was alive and a teenager, so taking in very little, but it was a massive deal. So it was the 7/7, so that's July 7th in 2005. So I was in year 8, so I was literally 13. So good luck getting me to notice anything that wasn't like One Direction. That's the London bombings. So there was 4 bombs. 3 of them targeted the underground and 1 targeted a bus. It killed 52 people and injured 700 plus people. And it's actually been the most deadly terrorist attack, although debatable, because I think the Birmingham ones would technically be a terrorist attack. But it was one of the first Islamic terror attacks in the UK, because if you think 2005, after they invaded Iraq, they kind of all link together, it makes sense. So the first Islamic terrorist attack, which has seemed to calm down, but I don't know if that's just the pandemic. Because like it's just a fact of like living in London, is that you kind of live in fear that someone's going to come at you with the katana, but you move. I traded the spiders for the katanas by moving here. So hopefully this one wasn't too heavy for you, but I do think it's very interesting to look back at history and see how much things were just in what I consider to be recent, although to be fair, 2005 was a while ago. I'm old. But yes, let me know in the comments. Was there anything else that you think was controversial, or do you think things were falsely on this list and not that controversial and a bit blown out of proportion? But mostly tell me who you think killed Diana, because that blows my mind. When I die and I can talk to the all-powerful being and ask any question that's like, who killed Diana, who killed John Benet Ramsey, like my top 2 questions. But yes, let me know in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and remember to hit subscribe so I can see you next time.